Good afternoon and welcome to the BFL Footy Show for another week, proudly supported by McDonald's Ballarat and also Ballarat Toyota. Shawnee, a bit of an audience in today, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah, we do, mate. The studio audience is in here again to look after the show. So a couple of them got a bit of a pasting last week by sitting in the audience. So we'll see if that happens again.
Scotty Carey's dropped by again, mate. Obviously, after his two kicks in the weekend, mate, he obviously hopes to get a bit of a mention again.
Yeah, mate, in Scotty's credit, it would have been hard to get a kick on Lake Wendouree Reserve on the weekend. It was pretty well boggy, but we'll find out more about that later on.
Mate, the first game we'll look at is between Bacchus Marsh and Melton. Bacchus Marsh 20-23-143 defeated Melton 8-5-53. For Bacchus Marsh, Daniel Veldon kicked 7 goals and 3 goals each to Daniel Benucci and also Abraham Kerr. For Melton, Darren Havey kicked 3 goals. Better players, Bacchus Marsh, Matt Denham, Tyson Shea, Daniel Veldon. Better players for Melton, Reece Duffield, Brett Thomas and Jake Leeson. So, look, Sean, Bacchus Marsh's form the last 3 or 4 weeks has been really good. I suppose Doug Hawkins and the coaching staff will be delighted with the way they've been playing.
Yeah, they will, and as we said last week, they know that there's still a chance to play finals. They're very much approaching this week in particular, which we'll talk about later on, as a view that they're still well and truly in the finals hunt. And when you've got Daniel Veldon kicking 7 goals and taking games by the scruff of the neck, as he has, not just on the weekend, but in a couple of games prior, it definitely gives them a shot.
No doubt, Sean. East Point took on Redan on the weekend. A really important game for both sides. I think in terms of East Point here, they've struggled to beat any sides above them on the ladder. This was a game they really needed to win if they wanted to finish in that all-important third position. Unfortunately, they couldn't win the game. Redan showed that they still are a force this year. Redan on the weekend, 10-15-75, defeated East Point 7-7-49. For Redan, Grant Bell, he's had a pretty good year, Belly, so far. He's a really important player for Redan. He kicked 3 goals, 2 goals to Dean Chester. For East Point, Dan Jordan kicked 4 goals and Brent Fitzpatrick kicked 2. The better players for Redan, Ashley Barker, Dean Matthews and Mitchell Phelps. Better players for East Point, Paul Konorenko, Daniel Jordan and Stephen Pye. So you just think that East Point now, over the coming weeks, they need to try and get a result against the better side. And hopefully, come finals time, they can knock off a team that's above them on the ladder.
Yeah, you'd hope so. Look, realistically, you look at the scoreboard, it was close most of the day, but they were never in this one. Redan kicked the first 3 goals of the day, and then they had control of the game from there on in.
The only game McGill and the coaching staff would be, I suppose, delighted that they could win that pressure game on the weekend. Obviously, you've got a pretty young side, and a really changing, I suppose, we're seeing a changing of the guard at Redan this year, and we know how strong their juniors have been over the last few years, and they've obviously been pretty strong in the reserves as well. So it's good to see some of those guys getting an opportunity at senior level.
And they got the job done in the middle of the ground as well, which we thought, and in previous weeks, has been a bit of, when they haven't had their guns on song, it's been a bit of a letdown for them. And with Paul Konorenko in career best form at the moment, and was again on the weekend, it's an area that you would have thought, well, if Cotters is in form, Hayden Walters, Jason Delaney, those kind of guys are getting first use of the ball. But it was very much Redan's midfield, led by Dean Matthews, who really got them going on the weekend.
Sean, Lake Wendouree took on Ballarat on the weekend. This game was played at the Wendouree Reserve. Lakers kicked the first goal of the game, but after that was all Ballarat. In the end, Ballarat 13-9-87 defeated Lake Wendouree 1-7-13. For Ballarat, Luke Brennan kicked 4 goals. Chris Proctor and James Quayle both kicked 3. For Lake Wendouree, Sam Clifton kicked 1 goal. Better players for Ballarat, Joe Otto, James Lukic and Luke Brennan. Better players for Lake Wendouree, Ben Hayes, Matthew Tuminello and Gavin Webb. Mate, look, I think Lake Wendouree's form over the last 2 or 3 weeks leading into this game has been pretty good. The weekend before against North City, they were really good after quarter time. But on the weekend, I think they may have taken a step backwards. I'm not too sure if they just didn't handle the conditions well at all. Obviously not. But in saying that, though, we can't take much away from Ballarat. Their game on the weekend to win by 70-odd points in the wet is a really good effort.
Yeah, look, I reckon all the credit goes with Ballarat in this game. They knew that they needed to get a big win on the board, given that there are a couple of teams behind them wanting their spot on the ladder, and they got the job done well against Lake Wendouree, as we said, in conditions that were less than ideal. As we can see from the highlights that are on the screen at the moment, it was a bit boggy out Lake Wendouree Reserve on the weekend, but look, full credit to Ballarat, they got the job done. I don't know so much whether the Lakers have regressed. Gavin Webb back into the side this week's a really handy inclusion for them, but look, I think they just have one of those days.
Honestly, with a young side like with Lake Wendouree, that you get some inconsistent performances week in, week out. I mean, you might play reasonable footy for 2 or 3 weeks and you might have a downer. So that's just that's going to happen.
Part of working with the young side, you're right.
Mate, North City took on Sebastopol at Eureka Stadium on Saturday. North City 21-24-150 defeated Sebastopol 1-3-9. For North City, Derek Mikulic kicked 5 goals, 4 goals to Jaden Orr. For Sebas, Marshall Kane was their individual goal kicker. Better players for North City, Ryan Luke, Jaden Orr, Daniel Jones. For Sebastopol, better players were Marshall Kane and Ross Manhennett. North City, probably a result that I think everyone expected in terms of a one-sided affair. I'm sure Sebastopol would have hoped that they would have scored a few more times and only having 4 shots at goal. The conditions obviously were fairly greasy, but they weren't as bad as some grounds. And obviously with North City kicking 21 goals and having nearly 50 shots at goal for the game, was a really good effort by them.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously we know the deck was pretty good at Eureka Stadium on the weekend, so they would have run on top of the ground for most of the day, and really good job done by North Ballarat City. And I think Sebastopol, like the Lakers, just had one of those days on the weekend.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. They just got to keep playing some of those young kids and getting some game time into those young Sebastopol players. And as you said, over the last few weeks, they've missed Malcolm Niblett, a lot this year. And I'm sure if he was in the side, they'd be certainly a lot more competitive. Shawnee, the last game we'll look at is between Sunbury and Melton South. Sunbury 16-7, 103 defeated Melton South 8-6-54. For Sunbury, Ross Slight kicked 5 goals, 3 goals to Simon Clark. For Melton South, Matthew Sutton kicked 3 goals. Better players for Sunbury, Jack Sullivan, Ross Slight and Xavier Linton. The better players for Melton South, Adam Leggett, Bradley Cotman and Brendan Hooper. I think with Sunbury, Sean, they've got some of their key players back into the side. And I think it's important for their sake that they start playing some good football. I think on the weekend's result, it's a step in the right direction. I think that they can really win some good games by some good margins for the next 4 or 5 weeks, and certainly set their final series up.
The thing that stood out to me looking at the results from this game was those goal kickers that you mentioned. Ross Slight with 5 goals, Simon Clark with 3 goals. Getting them into some sort of form in these next 3 to 4 weeks is absolutely crucial so that they can hit the finals cherry ripe.
Well, we've seen in the final series the last couple of years how important Ross Slight and Simon Clark are. Look, Simon Clark's missed a bit of footy this year, and look, Ross Slight has missed most of the season. But having those 2 players back into the side, they're a 6-goal better side with both those players playing good footy.
Yep, I agree with that.
So I think Sunbury are coming good at the right time of year, and still got 4 or 5 weeks to get some football into those guys. Just moving on to the ladder as it looks at the moment, Sean, we've got North City on top on 52 points, Sunbury in second on 44, Redan in third on 40, Darley in fourth on 36, along with East Point 36 as well in fifth position. In sixth is Ballarat on 28 points, and then outside the six is Bacchus Marsh, Melton South, Lake Wendouree, Melton and Sebastopol. So you think that the only teams that can finish in that third position are Redan and Darley. Obviously, North City and Sunbury will be top 2. And you think Ballarat, with their win on the weekend, they'll have to do a lot wrong to miss out on a finals campaign.
Yeah, you'd think so. You look at the ladder, and whilst there is only a game, obviously East Point are still only a game out of that third position. You'd think that on the weekend's results and with the run that they've got home, they're going to probably just miss that third spot. And you're right, we're down to 7 in the race now. Bacchus Marsh is the only team outside of the top 8, outside the top 6, I should say, that can get into the finals, and they've got it up against them. They've got a huge game this week, which we'll touch on later on.
Yeah. Sean, the Republic Clothing Player of last weekend goes to Ballarat's Joe Otto.
Yes.
Congratulations to Joe on that award. Well done. Should mention, how I suppose how well received that award has been this year. I think the players really do enjoy, getting the award and going down and buying some clothing. So I'm sure Joe will enjoy the award as well.
It's good to know. And we have had the feedback, obviously, that you're right, the players do enjoy the award, they enjoy the appreciation, and they like getting down to Myer and checking out the Republic kit and getting some stylish clothing.
For sure, mate. Moving on to the netball now.
Yes. So we're trying to get, given that it is Women in Football round this weekend, we're trying to get BFNL netball manager Cara Murray on the show this week, but just suffering a little bit from stage fright and didn't quite want to come on, so we'll just have to soldier on off her own bat, mate.
Just due to other commitments, she obviously couldn't be on the show today.
Oh, well, not too many other commitments, given that she actually is sitting just to my right at the moment, but doesn't want to come on screen. See, that's Cara waving.
Very good. Moving on to the netball for this week, for last weekend, sorry. Melton 50 had a good win over Bacchus Marsh 16. East Point 40 defeated Redan 30. Lake Wendouree 42 defeated Ballarat 28. North City 68 defeated Sebastopol 32, and Sunbury 58 defeated Melton South 17. So some good wins there to some of the better sides in the competition. Looked like Wendouree going pretty well, had a good win on the weekend. Still think that North City and East Point are 2 sides to beat.
Yeah, I think you're right, and we'll have a little look at some of the vision from the East Point Redan game. And Redan have shown they're an interesting one because they've been up there with the top teams in the last couple of weeks, but they haven't been able to get over that kind of 10-goal hump and everything like that. So I think you're right. I think it'll be between North Ballarat, North City and East Point. But Melton will have something to say about that, and so will Sunbury as well, which I suppose we don't see that much of, being the Eastern Bloc clubs. We need to get down and have a look at more of their netball before we do. Sunbury have beaten North City already this year, and we know Melton have got within a goal of North City, so they're well and truly definitely still in the hunt.
Definitely. Now, Shawnee, this weekend's games, mate. Big weekend of BFNL action coming up.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge weekend coming up. We've got Bacchus Marsh taking on Darley in the first game, and that is going to be an absolute humdinger.
Yeah, it should be a good game. I think Bacchus Marsh are a real chance to take up to Darley here. Darley, we know, have been a really good side this year so far, and this is a game they need to win and win well if they want to finish in third position. Percentage may play a part in third position as well, so it's important that both Redan and Darley, if they win, they need to try and win well in their games. But Bacchus Marsh's form, as I said before, has been really good. So this is no pushover. This is no pushover here. I think Bacchus Marsh may cause Darley a bit of a fright, but I think Darley's form will get them over the line.
Yeah, Bacchus Marsh are building this game up like you wouldn't believe. I've already seen articles, it's early in the week when we're taping this, where Bacchus Marsh are saying that this is their biggest game in years. They know that if they want to play finals, they have to win this game. And look, I reckon they'll take it right up. They've been in good form in recent weeks, and I can't see why they're not going to give Darley a real fright. However, if Darley are fair dinkum, they win this game. Very
good. Now, Redan take on Ballarat this week, mate, at the City Oval. I think a big game for Ballarat here. They need to back up last week's performance. We know that they had a really good win over Lake Wendouree, but they need to try and beat and try and compete really well against a side that's higher than them on the ladder. This is a really good opportunity for them this week to do that.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, Ballarat coming in with their place still not 100% secure in the six, but they'll enjoy playing on City Oval this weekend much more than they did Wendouree Reserve last weekend. City Oval in good nick at the moment, and they'll be able to run on top of the ground, and they'll back themselves in with a chance. But Redan's gone to that side that every time we think we're going to write them off for something like that, they respond, and they respond well. So at home, on their deck, knowing that they're starting to get themselves right for finals, it's really hard to pick against Redan in this.
And Lake Wendouree take on Sunbury.
Yes.
This game is played at the Wendouree Reserve.
It is played at the Wendouree Reserve.
Well, I know that Lake Wendouree are fairly keen to keep the game there.
Got a sponsors day there, so we can't see it moving.
Got a sponsors day, and certainly understandable why they want to play at home. So, look, I think that it's a good chance for Lake Wendouree to try and bounce back and certainly put up a competitive performance against one of the best sides in the competition in Sunbury.
Yeah, they did that earlier on in the season. I know Rick Hallwood, when they played Lake Wendouree the first time around, praised the Lakers for taking the game on and going at them head-to-head rather than dropping blokes behind the ball and things like that. So the development from the Lakers is in the right direction. It'll probably be a closer game than what it was last time, just because of the conditions and the heavy surface at Lake Wendouree Reserve. But you'll feel that Sunbury will be probably still too strong in this one.
Other game, Shawnee, for the weekend?
Yeah, the big one down between Melton South and Melton this weekend. Another really big game for the local rivalry.
It is, and it's a good opportunity for Melton South to have a win here. I think the form's been okay this year, up and down at times. But I just think that in local derbies, doesn't matter what sport it might be, it's amazing how many times, even you see at Anzac Day when there's a side that's a lot further down than the other team, they often find something for these games.
Correct.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Melton put up a really good effort here. And I think it'll be a great game to get along to if you're down in that area.
Yeah, I think it will be as well. Look, I'll back Melton South in for this one. They've shown the better form this year, but they'll definitely be up and about Will Melton on the weekend. And the last game for the round, Sebastopol taking on East Point at Marty Bush Reserve. And the East Point boys will find conditions a little bit different to what they experienced at the Eastern Oval last weekend at Marty Bush, which is up there, which, along with Wendouree Reserve, isn't in the best of nick at the moment. Yeah,
no, it's not. And, it's obviously been raining a fair bit over the last week or so.
Well, it's Ballarat in winter, we expect.
Yeah, that's right. And these grounds are, they don't hold the water, too well at times, I suppose. So hopefully the sun can come out later on in the week and the games can play in pretty good conditions. But I think for Sebastopol's point of view, they've just got to try and be competitive as they can be on the weekend. East Point coming off a disappointing defeat last weekend. They'll be keen to get on the winners list. And try and I suppose build some momentum into their game before finals. East Point will play finals, there's no doubt about that.
Correct.
And I think that they want to make sure they're playing a good enough football to actually challenge some of the better sides come finals time. So I think it starts for them this weekend.
Three things I want to look at in this game. A, how competitive Sebastopol are going to be on their home turf. B, if the game's a blowout, Dan Jordan sits on 74 goals at the moment. If his teammates, if it becomes a blowout, look for his teammates to find him later on in the game to try and get that goals tally up as he gets towards the 100 for the season.
Yep.
C, a hole in East Point's defence this weekend. They've got some injuries. We know Toby Wall's out with a broken scaphoid bone in his right hand after stupidly punching a football when he should have marked it on the weekend. So some holes to fill in the East Point backline.
There is, mate, and I think it's a big test for Sebastian. No doubt if they can put in a competitive performance here, it gives them some confidence for the last few games for the year. So.
And that's what they'll want, that confidence going in the last 3-4 games, to get a bit of a run on, get some excitement up around the club, because then that'll lead into pre-season 2014 and everyone will be up and about.
Definitely. Now, Shawnee, we shouldn't forget about the big women in football luncheon coming up this Friday.
Yep.
At the Ballarat Leagues Club. It's a really good event, and I think we had one last Friday down at the Riddle District Footy League.
Yeah, that was an awesome day.
It went really well. Tell us about some of the special guests for this week, and I suppose what the day's about.
Yeah, we've got a good panel lined up. Obviously, the day is designed in conjunction with our Women in Football round this weekend to pay some respect for all the work that the women do within football clubs, particularly in the Ballarat region, and all the fantastic volunteers we have in our own clubs. Jackie Cooper's going to be one of our guest speakers, who of course is a world champion aerial skier and one of the more motivating public speakers out there going around. We're hopefully going to hear from Chelsea Ruffy, the AFL goal umpire. We're just waiting to see what Chelsea's schedule is this weekend. She said that if she's not umpiring Friday night, she'll be with us, so we're very much hoping that's the case. Christy Malthouse will be there. We're going to have Kate Maloney from the Melbourne Vixens, one of the young up-and-coming Melbourne Vixens netball players, an under-21 Australian representative, and a couple of high-performance analysts from the North Melbourne Footy Club, Olivia Mills and Tanya Gallo, who work very closely with the football department at North Melbourne.
Yeah, I think it's really great that the league really recognises the contribution that women do make to footy. And just being at the Youth Girls presentation night last night, Drew Petrie made a couple of good points about female involvement in football these days. I think at South Fremantle now, they've actually got an assistant female coach. They're obviously seeing more women involved at at AFL level in club administration, etc. I think we saw Brian Cook, the CEO of Geelong, go overseas recently, and the interim CEO during that time was actually a female. The female of the CEO of the Canterbury Bulldogs and the NRL is actually a female. So we're seeing more females involved in sport these days, which is good to see.
No, it definitely is, and should be a great lunch up at the Ballarat Leagues Club, so it should be a really good afternoon. The clubs look like they've backed it pretty well, so it's good. Looking for a great day.
Shawnee, thanks so much for joining us on the BFL Footy Show once again, mate.
Anytime, mate. It's an absolute pleasure.
And thanks very much for all the viewers that have tuned in this week. Much appreciated. And as we know, the show's proudly supported by McDonald's Ballarat and also Ballarat Toyota. For now, goodbye, and see you next week.
This week in the Red Onion Creative Ballarat Football League. The Red Onion Creative Ballarat Football League. Brought to you by Red Onion Creative, McDonald's, the Win Network, and these sponsors.